Chapter 1177. After Luo Qingtong saw the style of his spirit ship, she decisively turned around and boarded her own spirit ship. Yu Huang was left behind looking at his specially made-up spirit boat flying ship with a gloomy face. Isn't this spirit ship beautiful? He looked at Yu Xingqi beside him. The latter's lips twitched. Beautiful. Too beautiful. Brother, you can sit by yourself. I'm going to sister. That red and green color, that wantonly fluttering in the wind, that rose petals flying all over the sky. That's right, there was also that fragrance that drifted thousands of miles away. Especially that spirit ship was specially designed to look like a luxurious carriage. It was simply showy to the extreme. Yu Xingqi felt that don't even mention Luo Qingtong, even she felt ashamed to sit on it, okay? She rolled her eyes at her brother, then turned around and chased after Luo Qingtong. Sister. Sister, wait for me. After Yu Huang finished listening to her words, he looked at the beautiful and flirtatious flying boat and his face turned green. Luo Li, you're dead if you go back. He gritted his teeth and said. Damn it, he asked him to inquire about evil Dr. Gui Tong's preferences. He told him that the other party would definitely like this kind of gorgeous style. The more flirtatious and gorgeous the better. And the result? If the other party was here, Yu Huang would choke him to death. And somewhere unknown, a certain person who was being nagged by his own sect master sneezed several times. Achoo achoo. Strange, the weather isn't cold, why did he suddenly sneeze so many times? Luo Li's face was strange. But very quickly he became happy again. Sect master went to see evil Dr. Gui Tong today. The plan he proposed would definitely win the favor of the evil doctor. This was the information he got from Ming Zun's protector. It was absolutely reliable. At that time he didn't know how the sect master would reward him. Thinking of this he felt happy. On the way to the outer realm with Yi Qianxian, Beiqing whispered to Feng Yu, last time that person from Imperial sect was eavesdropping, why didn't you seize the chance to catch him and deliberately said some nonsense? You even deliberately twisted the preferences of the evil doctor? That person is a trusted aide of the Imperial sect master. Both sides are not prepared to go to war. Even if we capture him, won't we still have to throw him out and let him go? I told him that on purpose. If he told Yu Huang, that would be fun. Feng Yu chuckled as he spoke. He said it according to the taste of the most gaudy dancer. At that time, if Yu Huang really found the demonic doctor, he would be in big trouble. He looked so devilish and evil and his hobbies were so gaudy and strange. The evil doctor might take him for a sissy. Thinking of this, Feng Yu suddenly burst into laughter. In front of the two of them, Yi Qianren, who had completely heard their whispers, curled her lips slightly. Well done. He had forgotten about Yu Huang, that troublesome person. Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened when he realized that the other party had actually dared to covet his treasures. Let's speed up and return as soon as we get what we need. He suddenly felt uneasy about leaving Luo Qingtong alone in the true Spill continent. As Yi Qianxian and the others were rushing to the outer realm, Luo Qingtong, Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang also arrived at the Western Wilderness half a month later. Western Wilderness, Windflower City. In a restaurant at the city gate, Luo Qingtong and the others appeared in the lobby. Why did I dress up like this? Chapter 1178. His hair was adorned with pearls, his hair was swaying, his face was like Shizi, his lips were red and his eyebrows were extremely enchanting. Even if his face was full of resentment, he still looked like a sick Shizi, so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. What's more, Yu Huang's face was extremely enchanting, and when he dressed up as a woman, his lethality was even greater. In an instant, since the three people entered the restaurant, those pig eyes and drooling eyes staring at Yu Huang never stopped. Instead, as the three people entered, they became more and more passionate and more explicit. Of course it's because you attract too much attention. Hugging the little white cat, the little loli who was bouncing beside Luo Qingtong said. Yu Xingqi poked Yu Huang's heart without hesitation. You don't know how many people you have provoked since we entered the territory of the far west wilderness and got off the flying ship. It seriously delayed our journey. Yu Huang gritted his teeth and looked at his little sister who was cheating her brother. Then I'm not attracting any more attention, he said and waved his hand. In an instant the beauty's sleeves fluttered and a violent force blasted out from it. Instantly, a drooling pig-faced wretched man who wanted to come up and hit on her flew out. In an instant the restaurant became silent. Everyone looked at this beauty who was obviously not to be trifled with, and in an instant, they all shrunk their heads and withdrew their gazes. Xianxia followed beside Luo Qingtong, who was dressed up as a man. He made a face at Huang and continued to provoke him without fear of death. That's because before you changed your clothes, not only men, you even provoked women, okay? Those love-struck fools are simply unreasonable, they can't be beaten away. If you don't dress up as a woman, who will? On the way here there are fewer people looking for trouble, don't you know? She said and rolled her eyes at Huang. The little white cat in her arms looked at her master's action, and also rolled her eyes at Huang. Looking at this master and pet who were asking for a beating. The veins on Huang's forehead bulged. He felt that he was able to endure until now and not choke Xianxia to death. He really broke through his limit. She was definitely a sister that he had picked up from the streets. Just when the blue veins on Huang's forehead were about to explode, Xianxia's eyes turned, approaching Luo Qingtong, and asked, "Sister, what are we doing here? Shouldn't we go to the first city in the center of the far west wilderness, the Savage City?" The Saint King's tomb was not far from the Wild City. The Savage City was the most prosperous and bustling place in the far west wasteland. It was the most developed area in the far west wilderness. Most of the families and forces that had come to the far west desolate region were gathered there. That place was known as the #1 city in the far west wilderness. Xianxia and Huang originally thought that Luo Qingtong would directly go to the Wild City, but they didn't expect that after she entered the far west desolate region, she would turn around and come here. "I need to stay here for a while." Luo Qingtong was dressed in black, dressed as an inconspicuous man. The aura and demonic aura around her body were covered by the Xianxia 100 transformations on her body. At this moment Luo Qingtong didn't look any different from the other pioneers who came to the far west wilderness. Only Xianxia and Huang, who were beside her, looked like two young ladies from some big family who ran out to play. Chapter 1179. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over his charming and enchanting female attire. In an instant the corner of her mouth twitched fiercely and she raised her hand to support her forehead. It was obvious that Huang himself did not have a trace of seductive manner. His actions and sitting posture were very proper. But he couldn't resist the other party's face, which was simply too monstrous. Just a casual raise of her eyebrows or a glance was enough to give off a seductive feeling. This kind of vixen déjà vu. That's amazing. Luo Qingtong looked at him, the corners of her mouth twitching. If she had known that this fellow was so attractive, she would never have agreed to go with him. The three of them sat down in a private room in the restaurant. Luo Qingtong sat by the window. Her slender fingers gently held the white wine cup and gently swayed it. She looked down at the busy street below. Fenghua City. Su Yu and the others had sent a message saying that they were in this city. Fenghua City wasn't considered a high-level city among the developed cities in Savage City, but it wasn't low either. Without a certain level of strength it was impossible to enter. The wilderness of the far west wilderness was extremely dangerous. This was the wasteland of the various large families and forces. It was different from the mountain barren areas in the eastern region. The demonic beasts here were even more ferocious. It was natural selection. And even more powerful. The mountain ranges in the eastern domain were all close to the cities. Powerful demonic beasts wouldn't live there. However, the depths of the far west wasteland was a paradise for powerful demonic beasts. The night of the far west desolate region was the hunting ground for demonic beasts. All kinds of violent demon beasts. Without the protection and defense of the city, ordinary martial artists would not be able to withstand the hunting of the demonic beasts. Luo Qingtong's eyes scanned the streets. She hadn't seen Su Yu and the others in a long time. The same went for the Luo clan's Iron Army and the Heavenly Demon Group. He wondered how they were doing now. The news they sent back was good. However, in a place like the far western wastelands, one would have to endure a lot of pain and suffering in order to make a name for oneself. Luo Qingtong came this time to see them. At the same time he could also increase their strength. If it was suitable, he would see if he could bring them along to the Saint Monarch's tomb to search for opportunities. Therefore Luo Qingtong deliberately took a detour and didn't go directly to Wild City. Instead she made a trip to Fenghua City first. Luo Qingtong, Huang and Xianxia ate together. because of Yu Sihuang's violent actions which directly sent people flying. Until the three of them finished their meal, they didn't encounter anyone who came to provoke them. However, after they left the restaurant, someone quietly followed them. The veins on Luo Qingtong's forehead throbbed, and he directly bought a gauze hat and placed it on Yu Sihuang's head. If you dare to take it down, then scram with them. Also take care of them. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and looked at him. The latter's face turned green. I got it. In fact, Yu Sihuang himself couldn't take it anymore. As the future overlord of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, he grew up surrounded by people. When had he ever been coveted like this? The way those people looked at him was simply too disgusting. Yu Sihuang's face turned green. He directly put on the gauze hat and clenched his fists, walking towards those people hiding in the dark. Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi continued to walk forward. Chapter 1180. A voice drifted into Luo Qingtong's ears from not far away. Heavenly diabolism is in trouble this time. That's right. At the same time, another voice was heard. I heard that the Qing family has invited a very powerful big shot to teach the heavenly diabolism a lesson. He's playing with the heavenly diabolism in the dark color arena. That's right. The Qing family is determined to deal with the heavenly diabolism this time. They must have spent a lot of money to invite that big shot. But I don't know why they have such a deep hatred for the heavenly diabolism. I heard that the Qing family was involved in the extermination of the deputy leader of the heavenly diabolism, Su Yu's family. And Su Yu's master seems to have robbed something from the Qing family. In short, the hatred between the two sides is irreconcilable. However, what the Qing clan did this time is really too vicious. I heard that they found the remaining members of the Su Yu's family and released them. They are playing with the heavenly diabolism's Su Yu in the dark color arena like playing with a dog. At the corner of the street, a group of 3 people was talking as they turned the corner. However, just as they appeared at the corner of the street, a figure suddenly appeared beside them. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and hooked the person who was talking the most enthusiastically to her. What are you doing? The person who was talking enthusiastically wanted to resist the moment Luo Qingtong hooked him. However, before he could do anything, he instantly felt his limbs and bones losing strength. He could not exert any strength at all. In an instant, his expression turned to one of extreme horror. He was so frightened that his legs almost turned to jelly. Nothing, I just found what you said interesting, so I wanted to ask you where the dark color arena is? Luo Qingtong looked at his horrified eyes and patted his shoulder with a smile. However, the smile in her eyes was so cold that it did not enter her eyes at all. The Qing family? Big shot. Luo Qingtong chuckled. The smile on his lips became more and more evil. The other party really had no memory at all. After suffering such a huge loss last time, they still dared to cause trouble for Su Yu and the others twice in a row. Did he think that in the far west wilderness the emperor was too far away and he couldn't care less about Su Yu and the others? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, the smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. Ever since she entered the city, she hadn't received any warning from Su Yu. So which big shot had blocked Su Yu's warning? He didn't want their news to spread and let her know? Interesting. She was going to meet them now. The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was cold. She raised her hand and patted the person who seemed to have stiffened all over. Bring me to the dark arena. I will reward you. Too lazy to ask him again, Luo Qingtong let him lead the way. That person was restrained by Luo Qingtong, so how could he dare to say a word? Moreover, although the other party's cultivation was not high, it was obvious that a casual pat could make him lose all his strength. He was not to be trifled with. He immediately led the way obediently. Together with his companions, he brought Luo Qingtong to the dark color arena. This is the place. Chapter 1181. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded, then patted him on the shoulder and let him go. Reward. Before the man could react, he found that the power that had been drained from his body had returned. Not only that, but his body was also particularly light. It seemed that Luo Qingtong's pat just now had dispersed all the hidden dangers that had accumulated in his body for so many years. The man was aghast and looked at Luo Qingtong with unspeakable awe. However, when he raised his head again, Luo Qingtong's figure had disappeared. Even the figure of the little lowly dressed in a pink robe next to him had disappeared. While the man was still in a daze, Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi had already swept into the strange bladed building. Dark color arena? It was a bit interesting. Luo Qingtong looked at the decoration in the building that was obviously different from the bloody arena in the black field, and her lips curved slightly. It was the first time that she had seen another arena other than the black field's bloody arena. She didn't know if there was any difference between the dark color arena and the bloody arena. If there wasn't, she was afraid that she would be very disappointed. When Luo Qingtong's figure stepped into the dark color arena, somewhere in the dark color arena, Su Yu and the people of the Luo clan's Iron Army were confronting a group of people. That group of people was the Qing clan's force in the far west wilderness. The leader was an elder of the Qing clan. Looking at his strength, he was at the peak of the martial emperor realm. His aura was faintly integrated with the surrounding spiritual energy, as if he had touched the level of the martial emperor realm. At this moment he was looking at Su Yu and the others with a sneer and said coldly, "How about it, Su Yu? Isn't my suggestion fair? The remaining people of your Su clan are all here. As long as you manipulate them to win the life and death battle, I'll let one of them go. How about it?" The elder of the Qing clan looked at Su Yu's expression with a strange smile. He wasn't afraid that the other party wouldn't agree. Their Qing clan had invited that big shot over. No matter how powerful those strange magic tools Su Yu and the others possessed were, could they do anything to that big shot? That was an elder of a great sect in the southern mountain range. Moreover, he was a Saint Realm expert. If Su Yu and the others wanted to die, they could just snatch him away. Let's see how they die then. The elder of the Qing family looked very cold, watching Su Yu's expression as if he was waiting for a good show. He was waiting to play this little bastard to death. Relying on the power of evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he actually dared to make a move against the Qing family. It was a pity that his entire family had been wiped out and he was a bastard born as a slave. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye didn't even bother to pay attention to him. She wasn't even willing to avenge him. He even sent him to an extremely dangerous place like the Western Wasteland. When the people of the Qing clan first defended Luo Qingtong, they were terrified for a while. Later, when they found that Luo Qingtong didn't have any intention of avenging Su Yu, they became bolder. They thought that Luo Qingtong disdained to stand up for a slave. The reason why she dealt with them before was that they had offended her by coming to snatch Su Yu away. It was a slap to her face, so she acted. Chapter 1182. She didn't expect the Qing clan to be so ruthless. Their Su family's generals, who were supposed to be executed because of their defeat in the war, had all been secretly swapped out by them. They were hidden in the dark and tortured. Su Yu's heart was glad and resentful at the same time. She was glad that she wasn't impulsive at that time and asked Master to exterminate the Qing clan. Otherwise, it would be impossible to know that these Su clan people were still alive. She was resentful because the Qing clan actually tortured the Su clan people like this. Su Yu looked at the Su clan's generals who were led out of the arena. Each and every one of them didn't have an intact and miserable appearance. Her eyes were red. Her cousins, as well as her uncles from the direct line of descent, as well as the numerous clan generals who were loyal to the direct line of descent of the Su clan. Su Yu's hands clenched tightly. "I promise you." She had no other choice. The elder of the southern mountain range invited by the Qing clan was watching all of this with cold eyes from the top of the private room upstairs. She dared to snatch them. Not to mention the Su clan people, even the people of the Luo clan Iron Army behind her would not be spared. She couldn't bring the people of the Luo clan Iron Army into danger because of her own selfishness. Master gave the Luo clan people to her so that she could lead them to gain experience in the western wilderness and make a name for themselves. She didn't want to use them for her own personal gain and revenge. Su Yu fiercely bit her lips and agreed in a stern voice. "Haha, good." The elder of the Qing clan laughed out loud when he saw that she had agreed to it. The so-called life and death battle was a special gambling game in the Western Wilderness arena. Because the people of the Western Wilderness went out to hunt every day and engaged in life and death battles, they accumulated a lot of negative emotions in their hearts. These negative emotions couldn't be completely vented by watching other people's gambling games. But if they were asked to fight by themselves, they cherished their bodies, so it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, in the arena of the far west desolate region, a so-called literary battle was invented. That was, through a special artifact, the participants of the fighting game could use their spiritual power to control the movements of the contestants in the arena. Like a marionette, he manipulated the opponent to attack and defend. This method not only satisfied the sadistic mentality of the far western desolate region's martial artists, but also allowed them to vent their negative emotions. It was very popular in the arena of the far west wilderness. And now, the elder of the Qing family was going to bet with Su Yu in this kind of literary way. He wanted Su Yu to personally control the generals of the Su family and watch the Su family's people die helplessly under his hands. The arena for the Wen battle was a very special room. Inside the room, the use of all power was restricted. Only the most primitive and pure physical strength could be used in the battle. The mental strength of the participants would enter the room through a special artifact, controlling their respective competitors to fight. Usually, the contestants for this kind of literary battle were all slaves. However, today the people who stood in the middle of the fighting field were from both the Qing clan and the Su clan. Those generals of Su clan who were imprisoned and tortured by Qing clan were dragged out of the troop like dogs and pushed into that room. Chapter 1183. With the physique of the Su clan's people. Even if Su Yu was a Sage Realm expert, she wouldn't be able to defeat him. Third great uncle is really powerful to think of such a way to torture Su Yu. When the time comes, he will personally control his own Su clan's people to die. Presumably, his heart will be in great pain. This can be considered as revenge for the evil Dr. Gui Tong killing one of our Qing clan's foreign elders and robbing us of our Earth-level spirit ship. The Qing clan's disciple thought so and suddenly felt even more proud. As for the Qing clan's elder, it was needless to say. Who let Su Yu be under the control of evil Dr. Gui Tong? They couldn't deal with evil Dr. Gui Tong, so naturally they could only vent their anger on him. It just so happened that he had enmity with their Qing clan, so it was just like killing two birds with one stone. The Qing clan's elder thought and suddenly sneered as he put on the special magic tool issued by the Dark Arena. When the magic tool was put on his finger, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have established a subtle connection with the Qing clan's disciple in the room. At the same time in the room, the Qing clan's disciple clearly felt that his control over his body was taken away. However, because he knew this when he first came in, he didn't panic in his heart. Su Yu's side was the same. After she injected her spiritual power into the magic tool, she immediately felt that she had established a connection with the Su clan's general. Jie, Su Yu, are you ready? Ready, then let's begin. After the Qing clan's elder controlled the disciple's movements, he slightly moved his body. Then with a boom he launched an attack at the Su clan's general. Bang! Su Yu controlled the body of the Su clan's general to dodge. However, after a long period of abuse and torture, the Su clan's general's physical quality was very weak. She barely controlled him to dodge to the side, but he was still swept by the attack of the Qing clan's disciple controlled by the Qing clan's elder. In an instant the Su clan's general vomited blood and flew to the side, heavily smashing into the wall. Cousin. In the Wen duel room, all the pain from the attacks would be borne by the contestant. The person who was controlling it would not feel any harm. However, when he saw the Su clan's general being sent flying while vomiting blood, Su Yu felt as if his heart was being ruthlessly torn apart. She was the youngest in the Su family, but because of her high innate talent she was raised as a boy. She had been the pride of the Su clan's main branch for 18 years. These Su clan's generals had also protected her for 18 years. In the end she couldn't do anything to help them. She couldn't even save them. Third brother. Looking at the Su family's high-ranking officer being ruthlessly thrown out, the Su family's troops under the control of the Qing family instantly burst into a commotion. The Su family's generals, who had been tortured until they were as thin as firewood, looked at the scene in the Wen duel room with red eyes. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the members of the Qing family. Trash of the Qing family. All of you will die a horrible death. Since you can't beat our Su clan, you resorted to underhanded means. In the future, when hell reincarnates, we will not let you off. You people of the Qing family, just you wait. Chapter 1184. That's right. Fight again. We soldiers can die in battle, but we can't kneel to live. Fight again. Following their voices, the Su family's general, who had been sent flying while vomiting blood, stood up shakily. His internal organs were almost displaced by the attack just now, and the blood he spat out was red with a tinge of black. He wiped the blood from his lips while supporting himself on the wall behind him to stand up. Su Yu, your cousin's dignity is in your hands. Don't let me die too cowardly. He spat out the blood in his mouth as he spoke. Shameless boasting. I'll fulfill your wishes and send you off one by one. The Qing family elder sneered and controlled the Qing family disciple on his side to launch an attack. Being able to let you die under Su Yu's control is considered a worthy death. Haha. The Qing family elder laughed loudly and controlled the Qing family disciple to launch an extremely ferocious killing move. Cousin. Just when Su Yu's eyes were red and she didn't dare to look, a voice suddenly resounded in her ears. 8 steps to the left, turn right and roll. Swing your blade. Following this extremely familiar voice, Su Yu subconsciously followed the meaning of the words. However, swing the blade? Where did the blade come from? Everyone was attracted by the voice of these words. Their gazes shifted to the room where one duel was taking place. On the other hand, the elder of the Qing family who was controlling the disciples of the Qing family laughed wantonly. Where did this fool come from? That Su family general doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Idiot. The opponent was attacked from the beginning, so how could he have a chance to touch a weapon? Furthermore, even if he has a weapon in his hand, he can't dodge the attack controlled by me. However, before he could finish his words, he was instantly like a chicken that was choked by the neck. In an instant, all the mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Under Su Yu's control, the Su family's general took 8 steps to the left, then turned to the right and then fiercely rolled. Coincidentally, it rolled to the side of the weapon rack. There was a saber right in front of him. This series of actions miraculously allowed him to avoid the attack of the Qing family disciple controlled by the Qing family elder. This caused the Su clan's general, who was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, to be swept away by the aftermath of the attack, to not receive the slightest bit of attack or collision. Playing. As he rolled to the side of the weapon rack, he pulled out the long saber and suddenly swung it. Along with this miserable cry, under the control of the elder of Qing clan, the disciple of Qing clan who had just released his killing move covered his arm as he screamed miserably and rolled on the ground. His right hand had been severed. In the Wendul room, one could not use any power other than physical strength. Even if the true strength of the Qing clan's descendant was enough to instantly kill the extremely weak Su clan's general. However, under the situation where he couldn't use any cultivation power, his arm was forcibly severed. In the next second. Chapter 1185. At the same time, the Su family's general also fell heavily to the ground, panting heavily. He won. He actually won. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They didn't know why the Su family's general was clearly going to die in the next second, but at the last moment he suddenly turned the situation around. His last series of actions was simply like moving clouds and flowing water, perfect as a textbook. Every step he took was just right to avoid the attack of the Qing family's disciple and get the saber. Direct counter. This series of actions was simply the pinnacle of actual combat. The person who spoke must be very experienced in actual combat. Everyone thought so and immediately looked towards the door where the voice came from. There Luo Qingtong was dressed in green, elegant and plain, looking very unremarkable. But her face was filled with an undisguised evil smile, which made the elegant and plain aura around her unconcealable, revealing an indescribable evil and domineering aura. Everyone looked at this obviously very ordinary-looking youth, but inexplicably couldn't move their eyes away. Luo Qingtong slowly walked in from outside the door. The smile on her lips was extremely evil and unrestrained. Life and death battle? Interesting. I'll play with you. As Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside, the Qing family's elder who had lost a Qing family's disciple looked at her with a cold expression. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to play with me? His voice was cold and stern. The other party ruined his good thing, simply deserved to die. She actually dared to say that she wanted to continue playing with him. The Qing family's elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. On the other side, after Su Yu let the Luo family's Iron Army's people help her cousin up, she immediately looked over with a pleasantly surprised expression. Moss. She was about to speak, but Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop her. Yi Jiu Tianxia's nameless pawn. What? Qing family's elder doesn't dare to play with me? Luo Qingtong walked over to Su Yu and the others. She sat down in front of a group of excited people. At the same time, she used her eyes to signal them to sit down. Su Yu and the others couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Seeing that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity, they immediately suppressed the excitement in their hearts and forced themselves to sit down calmly. But in fact, their hearts were already crazily thinking, Master is here. Master is here. This is really too great. The group of people were really sullen. Especially the Luo family's Iron Army's people. Seeing Su Yu's people's heart, they couldn't bear it. Luo Qingtong's appearance. Everyone was surprised, but their hearts were also filled with joy and excitement. Master. Kill Qing family's peoples. They had previously abused the Su family so miserably. Master's master, Su. You must help Su Yu to vent her anger. The Luo family's Iron Army's people suppressed their voices and whispered to Luo Qingtong. The words of the Su family's general in the one duel room just now deeply moved them. The Luo family's Iron Army's people were almost all from the army, so they empathized with the Su family's people. Because of this, they especially hated the Qing family's people. Don't forget, the Luo family's old man was also wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In the end, he was almost killed by King Dong Li's cunning rabbit and cooked dog. Chapter 1186. Yes. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She had just arrived here and she had already learned almost everything from the onlookers. The people of the Qing family were really looking for death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. The bloody light in her eyes glowed, and there was a murderous aura in her beautiful eyes. Humph. I didn't know that there was such a person like you in the heavenly diabolism. Yi Jiu? The elder from the Qing family looked coldly in Luo Qingtong's direction with an unfriendly gaze. There was no such person before the heavenly diabolism. You also said that there was no such person before. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She lazily leaned against the back of the chair she was sitting on. His eyes were shimmering with crimson mist as he looked at the elder of the Qing family. Can't you just join now? He smiled wantonly. So you people of the Qing family are in charge of everything, and you even care whether the heavenly diabolism recruits new members or not? She raised her eyebrows as she spoke. It was an ordinary face that had been disguised, but when the girl raised her eyebrows, it revealed a myriad of charm, enchanting and domineering. It was as if an originally ordinary robe suddenly emitted endless light, transforming into a rainbow-colored feather robe. Luo Qingtong didn't suppress her aura anymore. She leaned back in her chair and her eyes were cold and domineering. She stared at the elder of the Qing family in front of her. She looked like she was saying, I just can't stand you, so I deliberately joined the heavenly diabolism to fight against you. Fight me if you dare. Looking at the young man's provocative eyes, the blue veins on the elder's forehead twitched. Good. He sneered 3 times and looked at Luo Qingtong with anger. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick and Harry wants to stand up for others. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? That Qing family elder looked at Luo Qingtong's ordinary face with disdain. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Luo Qingtong used Xianxia's 100 changes to conceal her aura and temperament. She also weakened her appearance, but she didn't change her facial features. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan was able to see through her real age at a glance. He immediately felt disdain in his heart. He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He actually came to stand up for someone else. He had seen too many of such hotheads. That Qing family elder didn't put Luo Qingtong in his eyes at all. What he didn't know was that this ordinary youth that he looked down on was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that they hated so much that they gnashed their teeth in anger but couldn't afford to offend. Not only that, his opponent was a peak martial emperor who could instantly kill him. His disdain and arrogance made him look like a clown, which made people laugh. Really? I wonder what a person who can't even compare to a Tom, Dick or Harry. Luo Qingtong didn't get angry when she heard the words of that Qing family elder. She used her gaze to suppress the anger in Su Yu and the others' hearts. She looked at that Qing family elder indifferently, and the smile on her lips was wanton and mocking. That elder from the Qing clan instantly recalled the match he had just lost to the other party. Not only did he not manage to deal with Su Yu and the others, but he also lost a Qing family disciple. Chapter 1187. Fine. I'll play with you. The Qing family elder looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. However, Su Yu, the winner of the one battle is still the two of us. It's not impossible if you want this kid to play for you. We'll raise the stakes. The Qing family elder sneered and said, the life and death battle is not supposed to injure the participants. But today I want to change the way we play. Your Su family is going to fight against our Qing family. If the people on the stage are injured, the people participating in the one battle below the stage will also be injured. How about it? Do you dare to bet? The Qing family elder sneered as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu beside her. He originally wanted to make this request, but he wanted to make Su Yu sad and feel despair before making the request. He didn't expect this kid called Yi Jiu to suddenly appear and win this round for Su Yu. However, they wouldn't be so lucky in the next round. The Qing family elder's expression was cold, but Su Yu and Luo Qingtong's expressions were indifferent. I agree, Su Yu said without hesitation. She believed in her master. Good. The Qing family elder sneered and replied. However, at this moment Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Wait. The youth's voice sounded and the Qing family elder sneered and looked at her. What? Are you afraid? Since you're afraid, then get lost. This isn't a place for children to play games. The Qing family elder said with disdain. His target wasn't Luo Qingtong, but the other party who deliberately came out to stir up trouble. After dealing with Su Yu and the others, he would slowly deal with this kid. No, elder of Qing clan, you misunderstood me. Luo Qingtong said as she slowly got up from her seat and leaned forward. With her hands crossed in front of her body, she raised her head and looked at the elder of Qing clan with a sneer. What I'm trying to say is that it's just the two of you. What kind of bet is that? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at the members of the Qing family. If you want to play, then play big. Look at how badly the people on the stage are injured. Everyone on the other side must be injured like that. How is it? She looked at him with a smile. Do you people from the Qing clan dare to bet with me? Luo Qingtong deliberately emphasized the word, everyone. As long as that elder of the Qing clan agreed, not only the members of the Qing clan in the far west wilderness, but also the members of the Qing clan in the Rising Sun Nation would not be able to escape. Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the matter between the Qing family and Su Yu. After all, this was Su Yu's personal grudge. She should take revenge with her own hands. However, the members of the Qing clan had obviously crossed her bottom line this time. Luo Qingtong didn't want to keep them alive anymore. She wouldn't let anyone from the Qing clan off. Fine. The elder of Qing clan sneered at Luo Qingtong. He didn't understand the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's words. However, even if he did, he didn't care. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly win against him. Betting everyone as a bet would only make the members of Heavenly Diabolism die more miserably. He originally wanted to humiliate Su Yu, and then kill all the people of Heavenly Diabolism here. This elder of Qing clan wasn't stupid enough to let Su Yu and the others go back after humiliating them. He would let them tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye and then take revenge on the Qing clan. Chapter 1188. Su Yu, what do you say? He looked at Su Yu sinisterly. The latter nodded without hesitation. Just do as he says. Whatever master says they will do. Su Yu believed that Luo Qingtong wouldn't lose. Even if Luo Qingtong really asked them to die, she wouldn't even blink. Not to mention the people from the Luo family's iron army behind her. They swore to follow Luo Qingtong's orders for life. Never question. This was one of the essential qualities of a soldier. Good. Since none of you have any objections, then let's begin. The sneer in the eyes of Elder Tian from the Qing family became even colder. Su Yu and the others were really grabbing onto a random person as a life-saving straw. Did they really think that this Yijiu could help them win these literary battles just because he had some ability? Idiot. Since he dared to make such a request and let Su Yu fight with him, of course he came prepared. He wanted to humiliate Su Yu to death and let her see with her own eyes how the Su family members died one by one in her hands. He had been careless previously and allowed Yijiu to take advantage of him. The other party's combat experience was indeed extremely rich. It was really good to have such keen combat instincts at such a young age. But if Su Yu and the others thought that they could win by relying on him, then they were gravely mistaken. Because, opening heaven's eyes, the Qing family elder looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and sneered as he raised his hand to wipe his eyes. In an instant, there seemed to be a ball of energy revolving in his eyes, forming the appearance of an eye within an eye. It was a new unique skill that the elder from the Qing clan had obtained. It could force one's energy and energy into his eyes, allowing his eyes to see through the opponent's moves in a short period of time and predict what the opponent's next move would be. Ever since the Qing family elder obtained this unique skill, he had experimented with it several times in private. He found that this opening heaven's eyes was indeed miraculous. The only drawback was that it consumed too much strength and it could only see one movement of the opponent clearly. After the Qing clan elder made his move, the surrounding people instantly noticed the change in his eyes, and they immediately cried out in alarm. That's the eye of a Qing clan elder. Looks like it's a very powerful unique martial art. The Qing clan sent the Heavenly Diabolism's people to participate in this one duel. Obviously they are well prepared. I knew it. The Qing family has the upper hand, so why are they fighting with the Heavenly Diabolism? They even said that they will let one person go if they win one round. So he was just toying with them. Yes. It seemed like the Qing clan was determined to deal with Xianxia's people. It was estimated that none of these Su family members would survive. All of you will die on the literary battle stage. What are you talking about? Don't forget that the Heavenly Diabolism's people have promised the Qing family that they will be as injured as the people on the stage. I think they're finished. Yes. It was also proposed by Yijiu who just came. Otherwise, Su Yu would suffer at most. Great, the entire Heavenly Diabolism's people are going to be in big trouble. Yes. A group of people shook their heads and sighed. The Heavenly Diabolism's people are also unlucky. They originally wanted to win the one duel with Yijiu's strength. Chapter 1189. That's right. That Yijiu is too arrogant. Now he and the Heavenly Diabolism are going to be in trouble. A group of people were talking at once. Many people looked at the Heavenly Diabolism sympathetically. Among these people many were familiar with Su Yu and the rest. They had even worked together before. They admired Su Yu and the rest's character. But this time, the Qing family had invited the elder from the southern region to oversee the situation. No one dared to help them. When they saw that the Heavenly Diabolism was going to lose, they sighed and felt pity in their hearts. When those people of Qing family saw the elder's action, they immediately laughed complacently. They were all aware of the Qing clan's elder's hidden trump card. The other party had been hiding until now, just to give the Su family a critical blow at this moment. They looked at the direction of Luo Qingtong and the rest with a complacent expression, waiting to see the despair on Su Yu and the rest's faces. However, Su Yu and the rest's faces didn't change at all. They sat calmly beside Luo Qingtong and didn't have any doubts or uneasiness. They wouldn't regret their master's order even if they had to die. Moreover, how could these people understand their master's ability? Su Yu and the rest's faces were as calm as a mountain. Luo Qingtong chuckled and looked at the elder's eyes meaningfully. Forcing the breath in one's body into one's eyes to form a new pupil within the pupil, which can temporarily see through the opponent's actions? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved slightly. Interesting. She murmured softly. Then she raised her voice and looked at the elder of the Qing family. Since you're ready, let's start. She originally thought that there was no suspense in this battle of words. She didn't expect the opponent to have such a trump card. This ignited a lot of interest in Luo Qingtong. She would fight with this opening heaven's eye. As Luo Qingtong spoke, the blood-red vortex in her eyes suddenly began to spin. Bring him here. The Qing clan elder sneered and waved his hand. In the face of Luo Qingtong's calmness, he and the other members of the Qing clan took it as a bluff and forced themselves to remain calm. When the Su family's people died one by one in their hands, let's see how those people from the heavenly evil faction would be able to maintain their calm. Humph. He wanted those people from the Su clan to be turned into human rods. At that time the heavenly diabolism's people would also end up like this. As the elder of the Qing family waved his hand, a general of the Su family and a disciple of the Qing family appeared in Wendo's room. This time the disciples sent by the Qing clan were all tall and sturdy, and it was obvious that they were experts in brute force. This disciple of the Qing clan might not be very strong, but in terms of physical strength he was the strongest among the Qing clan's disciples. His figure was like an iron tower as he walked into Wendo's room. His footsteps made thumping sounds on the ground. Among the people from the Su family, the one who was let out was the thinnest one. Not only that, his age was also relatively old. His figure staggered a little as he walked out. "Uncle." Seeing the figure of the Su family's general, Su Yu's palm clenched tightly. The people from the Qing clan were too shameless. Chapter 1190. The heavenly diabolism was bound to lose. This was an unfair fight to begin with. Moreover, it was obvious that the elder from the Qing clan had cultivated a technique that could help him win the one battle. The heavenly diabolism had no chance of winning at all. That young man called Yi Jiao, no matter how powerful his combat experience was or how sharp his combat instincts were, could he be compared to the Qing clan elder who had opened his heaven's eye? The Su clan was bound to lose. Everyone sighed inexplicably in their hearts. Luo Qingtong had already received the special Dharma weapon from Su Yu that could participate in the one battle. She was rather surprised to find that the refining of this Dharma weapon was not ordinary. It seemed that the background of the dark colors arena was not small. Luo Qingtong looked at this special Dharma weapon that was obviously not refined by an ordinary weapon refiner and put it on her finger. In an instant she felt that the Su clan's general in the one duel room was already under her control. "Haha. Kid, since you're ready then come." That Su clan elder laughed sharply and then fiercely controlled the Qing clan disciple who was as strong as an iron tower to launch an attack. Bang bang bang. The two of them fought in the one battle room. Although it was the Su clan general and the Qing clan disciple who were fighting inside. But the real battle was between Luo Qingtong and the Qing clan elder's consciousness. Both of them controlled their own people and launched attacks on each other. For a moment the entire one battle room was filled with muffled sounds of fists. The two people who were being controlled were carrying out the most primitive battle. Under the control of the Qing family's elder, the sturdy Qing family's disciple kept launching attacks. And that Su clan general, under the control of Luo Qingtong, was only constantly defending. The surrounding people saw this and shook their heads constantly. The difference in physical quality of both sides is too great. Although this Yi Jiao is considered smart and knows how to defend and wait for the opportunity to attack. But that Qing clan disciple's attacks are too fierce and that Su clan general's body is too weak. How could a body that had been abused and hollowed out withstand so many attacks? Even if he only suffered a little damage at a time, the accumulation was enough to cause the Su family's general to suffer great damage. Who knew when his body would reach a critical point? Then when the next attack came he couldn't take it anymore. And he was sent flying. However, while all of them were thinking like this, they didn't know that the heart of that disciple from the Qing clan was filled with astonishment after every single attack. His fist seemed to land on the Su clan's general every time. But, in reality, he hadn't hit anything. Every time the Su family's general retreated to defend, it was actually when his attack range was exhausted. It looked like it had blocked his attack, but in fact, when his attack reached that point it no longer had any attacking power. He didn't even touch or injure the other party. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. What kind of precise calculation and attack prediction was this, to be able to defend at such a precise point every time? The other party hadn't been attacked at all. Granduncle, you mustn't be fooled. Chapter 1191. This Qing clan disciple had no way of telling the Qing clan's elder what he felt when he attacked. It was just like how when they were attacked the person controlling them would not be able to feel the damage at all. The disciple of the Qing clan was terrified to the extreme. But the Qing clan's elder was completely unaware. Boom! After another heavy punch, the Su clan's general seemed to be unable to bear it. He staggered back a step as if he was about to be blown away. Seeing this scene, the Qing clan's elder suddenly laughed out loud. Finally unable to bear it, right? Die. He was very proud in his heart. He thought that Yijie was very powerful. In the end, he didn't even use open heaven's eyes. The opponent couldn't hold on. That's right, the Su clan's generals were so weak. This time the one he chose was the weakest among them. Against the strongest disciple on their side, there was no suspense at all. The Qing family's elder laughed and controlled the Qing family's child to jump up high in an instant. The child rushed towards the Su family's high-ranking officer who was about to be sent flying. He directly punched towards the Su clan's general's left arm. He wanted to break his opponent's arms and legs one by one and turn him into a human stick before killing him. The Qing clan's elder had a sinister smile on his face. On the other hand, the face of the Qing clan's disciple under his control was twisted in extreme horror. This was because he clearly saw that the Su clan's general, who seemed to have been beaten back and was about to fly out, had a smile on his face. It was a relaxed, relieved and comfortable smile. On Xianxia's side, Luo Qingtong's lips were also slightly hooked up. Boom! Her mind moved fiercely and in an instant the Su clan's general attacked. Just as the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air and charged at him, the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air. The opponent's center was wide open. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su clan's general and rushed towards the Qing clan disciple. Bang! She directly let the opponent kick her. As for the Qing family's elder, he noticed that something was amiss when the Su family's general moved. He hurriedly controlled the Qing family disciple to dodge. However, the latter was in mid-air and was a natural target. How could he dodge the attack of the Su family's general? Left with no other choice, the elder of the Qing clan had to activate his heaven's eye. In an instant he saw through the landing point of the kick from the Su clan's general. He immediately forced the Qing clan's disciple to twist his body, avoiding the kick from the Su clan's general. However, before he could reveal a smug smile on his face, the next second, bang! Just as he controlled the Qing family's disciple to turn around, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through his intentions. She directly changed the direction of her leg and blocked the Qing family's disciple's path. It was as if that kick had been waiting for him all along. Boom! Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. In the next second she controlled the foot of the Su clan's general to sweep fiercely. In an instant the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Chapter 1192. A large part of his chest had caved in. His entire back was bent out of shape. Obviously, the kick that Luo Qingtong used on the Su family's general had broken all his ribs. Not only that, those broken ribs had pierced into his body. It didn't break out of his back because the body of the Su family's general was too weak. The strength that he could exert wasn't that strong. Otherwise, this kick was enough to kick this Qing family's disciple to death. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She controlled the Su family's general to walk in front of the Qing family's disciple who was screaming and rolling on the ground. With one kick she crushed all his limbs. How could Luo Qingtong not know what the Qing family's elder wanted to do? He wanted to turn the Su family's people and Xianxia's people into sticks? She would help the Qing family's people. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general's movements and slowly crushed the Qing family's disciple's limbs. If she didn't see wrongly when he first entered this duel room, the Qing family's disciple's eyes were very excited and bloodthirsty, right? He must have spent a lot of energy and effort to snatch this opportunity from the Qing family's people, right? How could she let it go to waste? Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary to let the other party stay in this duel room a little longer, so that the people outside could better appreciate the things that he wanted to do to the Su family's people, but in the end, it was retribution that fell on him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. In the duel room, the Qing family's disciple screamed miserably. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the Qing family's people who were already pale beyond compare. How is this possible? The Qing family's elder looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He didn't know how the other party saw through his actions in the end. He had clearly used open heaven's eyes. Logically speaking, he should have avoided the opponent's attack. However, Luo Qingtong controlled the kick of the Su family's general. It was as if she was deliberately waiting for him when he controlled the Qing family's disciple to twist his body. What was going on? That Qing clan elder's eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he tried. What they didn't know was that he had indeed seen through the kick of the Su clan's general and had successfully avoided it. However, Luo Qingtong also saw through his dodging action. He could rely on his open heaven's eye to see through Luo Qingtong's control over the Su family's general. However, Luo Qingtong was able to see through every action of the Qing family's disciple under his control. Luo Qingtong's pupil technique was simply a cheat-like existence in a situation where she couldn't use any power to protect her body and couldn't use any cultivation base. An invincible killing machine. The Qing clan elder's heaven's eye opening couldn't compare at all. Come, let's continue. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general and kicked the Qing family's disciple who was crushed like mud out of the Wen duel room. Chapter 1193. In the eyes of the Qing family, the young man's smile was a forced calmness and a bluff. But now they realized that he simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. Who was this person? Where did he come from? How could he have such a terrifying combat ability and combat experience? Even the Qing family elder couldn't defeat him even after using Heaven's Eye? The Qing family elders looked at the smile on Luo Qingtong's face and shuddered in their hearts. All of a sudden they had a feeling. That was agreeing to this bet. Maybe it wasn't the heavenly diabolism's tragedy and mistake. It was theirs. They were gravely mistaken. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with stiff faces and terrified hearts. The surrounding people were also shocked and regretful. Those people who just said that Luo Qingtong was bound to lose and that the heavenly diabolism people were unlucky were now staring at the scene in the room with wide eyes. Oh my God! The crowd didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it. He was obviously the weakest general of the Su family who had been abused and had no strength left. He actually won against the Qing family's tall and strong disciple. Looking at the Qing family's disciple who had been tortured until he didn't even look human anymore, the crowd fell into a deep silence and shock. They suspected that the elder of the Qing clan was too careless and didn't use his unique martial art. But looking at the shocked and horrified faces of the Qing family elders, their faces turned ashen. They were speechless for a moment. The Qing family elders weren't that stupid. They had been slapped in the face before and now they were slapped again. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan had actually used the pupil of eyes in his eyes, but he was still defeated by his opponent in the end. This Yijiu, how strong was his combat acuity and intuition? Combat experience, how rich was he? What kind of great power was this genius youth that came out to play? Even if he was a superpower in the 4 regions of the true Spill continent, he would definitely be a peerless genius who was carefully cultivated and cared for. While the crowd was shocked, Luo Qingtong had already brought the Su family's general out of the room. She asked the heavenly diabolism people to settle him down and then looked at the Qing family elder who had a pale face. Qing family elder, let's continue. She chuckled and tapped her index finger on the table in front of her. As long as your Qing family people can win this round, we will raise the stakes and consider it our loss. How about it? Luo Qingtong's words was a provocation and contempt. She was returning all the disdain and contempt that the Qing family had shown to the Xianxia people just now. How dare they attack her people? Today she would show these people from the Qing family what despair was. What is you? The veins on the Qing family's elder's forehead were bulging from Luo Qingtong's words. The people of the Qing clan behind him also wore terrified and embarrassed looks on their faces. Luo Qingtong said such words in an absolutely crushing manner. This was the biggest slap to the Qing family's face. Chapter 1194. Continue. The elder from the Qing clan gritted his teeth and said word by word. He clearly knew that Luo Qingtong's words were a humiliation, but he had no choice but to accept it. Because if he accepted to continue, then they would still have a chance to turn the tables. If he didn't accept, then the bet would be their Qing clan's final resting place. He didn't believe that his open heaven's eye was useless against the other party. There were so many people in the Su clan. There were so many rounds of Wen duels, it was impossible for him to not win a single round. He wanted Luo Qingtong to swallow all the words she had said. The muscles on that Qing clan elder's face twitched fiercely. In front of everyone he had humiliated himself by agreeing to Luo Qingtong's request to continue. And all of this. In his original plan he should be the one to speak arrogantly to the people of Xianxia. The third round of Wen duels began. This time that Qing clan elder used his open heaven's eye, right from the start. His eyes were focused on the Su clan's general's actions, and he launched an attack with a bang. And this time Luo Qingtong was not prepared to defend like before. She narrowed her eyes and looked at that Qing clan disciple in the Wen duel room. He directly manipulated the Su family's general to rush forward and launch an attack. Gain the initiative by striking first. Luo Qingtong controlled that Su clan general's actions, and in an instant, that Qing clan elder sneered. The pupil in his eye began to spin violently. That Su clan general's actions were completely seen through by him. However, when he controlled that Qing clan disciple to counterattack that Su clan general's actions. Bang! That Su clan general's actions when charging in front of him suddenly changed. His original action of swinging his fist suddenly turned into a kick. With a bang, that Qing clan elder could not react in time and did not have time to change his move. The pupil in his eye flickered rapidly. He had already predicted the Su family's general's move the moment he lifted his foot. But it was too late. That Su clan's general had changed his move at the last moment. The elder of Qing clan needed some time to see through the attack and maneuver that disciple to dodge the attack. When his open heaven's eye saw through the kick of the Su clan's general, that kick had already ruthlessly landed on the stomach of the Qing clan's child. Bang! The disciple of Qing clan arched his body in a split second as he flew across the ground and heavily hit the wall more than 10 meters away. With a muffled bang, the Qing clan disciple could only lie on the ground and groan. This again. The elder of the Qing clan almost vomited blood. Every time he predicted his opponent's move, his opponent would immediately change his move. In the end, it was as if he was the one who had taken the brunt of his opponent's attack. It was as if his predictions had been completely seen through by the other. How could there be such a terrifying person in this world? Luo Qingtong manipulated the actions of the Su family's high-ranking military officer like moving clouds and flowing water. It was as if all of his actions were in front of the other party, without any concealment at all. The other party could do whatever they wanted to him. In the direction of the Qing family, the elder of the Qing family suddenly screamed. He covered his eyes and rolled around violently. Dark red blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers covering his eyes. It was because he had used open heaven's eyes too much in the literary battles and had directly exploded his own eyes. The shrill voice of the elder from the Qing family and the disciple from the Qing family in the Wen duel room rang out one after another. When everyone heard this, they felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 1196. With such a terrifying fighting ability, no matter how weak the opponent was, he had the ability to challenge those of a higher level. And as he grew stronger, this ability to challenge those of a higher level would be even more terrifying. Because on the path of martial arts, the higher the level, the greater the disparity in strength. It was almost impossible to cross. However, Luo Qingtong could rely on her ability to challenge those of a higher level to reduce this disparity. Even if her strength was not enough, she could still fight against those of a higher level. In the eyes of other warriors, this was very inconceivable and terrifying. Just as everyone was looking at Luo Qingtong in shock, she slowly stood up and looked at the frightened members of the Qing family and said, "All right. The Wen battle is over. You should also carry out your bets." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the surrounding people remembered that not only did the Qing family bet on the Wen battle with the people of the heavenly diabolism, but they also added bets. And the content of the bets. They looked at the people of the Qing family and saw that their faces were pale. They looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the screaming elder of the Qing family suddenly grabbed a disciple of the Qing family and stood up. He angrily shouted at Luo Qingtong and the others, "Little bastards, don't think that you can deal with us like this. So what if you won the one battle? Today none of you from the heavenly diabolism can leave the dark arena." The elder of the Qing family had a ferocious expression. His eyes had become two bloody holes which made him look very scary. The veins on the Qing family elder's forehead bulged as he raised his head abruptly and shouted towards a certain room on the second floor, "Elder Pan, please make your move. Fight against the people of the heavenly diabolism. According to the agreement we had before, all the profits of the Qing family in the far west wilderness these years will belong to you." The voice of the elder of the Qing family sounded. Everyone immediately looked up at the room on the second floor. Everyone remembered that the people of the Qing family had something to rely on to deal with the people of the heavenly diabolism. The one battle was just a way to humiliate the opponent. Although they lost, as long as the elder of the southern region's sect was there to support them, the people of the Qing family would be fine. In fact, the people of the heavenly diabolism would be in trouble. After all, the elder of the southern region's sect not only was his own strength, but his sect was also very powerful in the far west wilderness. Hearing the words of the Qing family's elder, Su Yu and the others had a slight change in expression. "Master." Su Yu stepped forward and wanted to say something but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. "It's nothing." Luo Qingtong was elder of the heavenly diabolism of the southern region's sect. In the private room on the second floor, after hearing the words of the Qing family's elder, a figure immediately rushed out from the room. It was an old man who looked very short and small like a dwarf. He jumped out of the private room on the second floor and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 1197. The old man looked shrewd and wretched. He glanced at Luo Qingtong and waved his sleeve. "What?" The elder of the Qing clan was still waiting for Elder Pan to vent his anger for them. When he heard Elder Pan's words, he immediately shouted, "Elder Pan, didn't we agree on this? You will help us get rid of the heavenly diabolism and we will reward you." The elder from the Qing family did not expect Elder Pan to ask the heavenly diabolism to scram. Did this mean that they could not avenge themselves? More importantly, once the heavenly diabolism left, they would tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye about this. The Qing family would be finished in the Sunrise Country. The elder from the Qing family became anxious at the thought of this. As soon as he spoke, Elder Pan from the Southern Domain sect let out a cold harumph. He raised his hand and a gust of wind shot out. In an instant, the elder from the Qing clan, who had just crawled up from the ground, was sent flying again. "Do I need you to tell me what to do?" Elder Pan from the southern regions sneered at the elder from the Qing family and said, "I did agree to help you get rid of the heavenly diabolism. However, that was based on the fact that you won. Now what kind of battle is this? You've lost your lives to others. I've saved your lives, so I'm already worthy of this reward. Do you still want me to deal with the heavenly diabolism?" Elder Pan coldly snorted. In fact, he felt that Luo Qingtong's ability was extraordinary. She might be a genius disciple secretly groomed by some big faction and went out to gain experience. In addition, the man's ordinary face gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. This Elder Pan felt that it was better for him to be a little more cautious. It would be better if he just chased them away. He should not go too far with her. With this thought, he waved his hand and said, "All right, you heavenly diabolism, scram. Otherwise I will change my mind." Elder Pan. The elder from the Qing clan was anxious. He didn't care about the blood on his head and his sorry figure as he hurriedly said, "Elder Pan, you can't. Please make a move. We, the Qing family, are willing to pay twice as much." "I'm not in a good mood today, so I'm not going to fight anymore. If your Qing clan wants to deal with them, do it yourself." Elder Pan looked at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, "What? Why aren't you guys scramming?" "If you don't scram, I'm going to attack," Elder Pan said. He didn't want to go too far with the other party. But if the other party insisted on not leaving, then for the sake of his own face, he would have to make a move against the other party. Just as Elder Pan's words rang out, Yu Xingqi's crisp voice sounded from outside the door. "Really? How impressive and domineering. May I know which part of the southern domain you're from and which sect's elder? Tell me your name so that my brother and I can see who is so powerful that he dares to treat my sister like this. Brother Zhou, you're being rude. Chapter 1198. Xianxia had been left outside by Luo Qingtong to wait for Huang. Now that the latter had come back from teaching people a lesson, they all stepped into the hall together. Seeing Luo Qingtong and the other Qing family members confronting each other, Huang slightly knit his brows. He didn't think that Luo Qingtong needed to spend too much energy to deal with a small upper-class country's aristocratic family. So, there was a variable in this. His eyes swept around and immediately saw Elder Pan, who was standing in front of the Qing family members but was completely ignored by him because of his height. King. That Elder Pan, when Huang and Xianxia walked into the hall together, his eyes had already popped out. My mother. This was the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect. If it wasn't for Huang's iconic evildoer face that didn't change and Xianxia, this little devil girl by his side, Elder Pan would have thought that he had recognized the wrong person. How did King become like this? Elder Pan's eyes widened as he looked at Huang's head full of vermilion hairpins and cloud hair, swaying as he walked, captivating the soul. My mother. Elder Pan looked at everyone's stunned eyes staring at Huang's body and didn't know what to say. King. What kind of stimulation did you receive? Sect Master. Have you ever thought that as the head of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, this hobby of dressing up as a woman and walking in front of people is very inappropriate? Elder Pan's eyes popped out. The elder of the Qing clan shouted loudly as if he had caught hold of something that could be used against him. Elder Pan, they are in cahoots with that Yijio. They are deliberately looking down on you. Speaking up to here, he let out a long breath. Being despised and looked down on like this Elder Pan should want to make a move and kill all of Xianxia's people, right? Haha. That Yijio's 2 friends were really their Qing family's god helpers. Originally, Elder Pan was already prepared to not care about their Qing family and Xianxia's matters. Now that the 2 of them had appeared and said such words, how could Elder Pan possibly spare them? Not to mention the contempt in their words towards Elder Pan and the southern region sect behind him. That Qing family elder was proud in his heart, and sneered at Xianxia and Huang. You 2 women, what do you know? This is an elder of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, shocking Heaven Gate. Among the 3 islands and 7 lands, the shocking Sky sect's strength is one of the best. Elder Pan is the person in charge of the startling Sky sect's forces in the western wastelands. His strength and prestige in the startling Sky sect is extremely high. How dare you disrespect Elder Pan? You must be tired of living. That Qing clan elder's face was filled with arrogance and disdain. What he didn't know was that Elder Pan's heart was about to collapse when he heard his words. That wretched and shrewd old face was completely green, black and green. Bang! Without waiting for Huang and Xianxia to say anything, that Elder Pan had already rushed in front of them, and fiercely slapped that Qing family elder's face. Boom boom boom. A burst of explosive sounds. That Qing clan elder was instantly sent spinning on the spot by Elder Pan's slap. Then he was fiercely sent flying. Chapter 1199. At the sight of such a scene, all the other members of Qing clan who were echoing the words of that elder were dumbfounded. What was going on? Did that Elder Pan make a mistake? Even if he wanted to flip out, he should be targeting Xianxia and Yijio. Why would he make a move against their Qing family elders? The Qing family members were at a loss as they looked at Elder Pan, who suddenly flipped out. The latter fiercely slapped the Qing family elder and sent him flying. After not knowing if he was dead or alive, he quickly lowered his head and said to Luo Qingtong and the others, "I'm sorry, Master Zhou. This time I had eyes but couldn't see. Please don't lower yourself to my level. These Qing family people, I'll immediately take care of them for you. As for the things they gave me, I'll give them all to Xianxia as an apology for offending you this time." Cold sweat broke out on Elder Pan's forehead. He was really going to be killed by the Qing family. They dared to call the king a woman. They even said they knew something. That was fine. They even boasted about him and the shocking heaven sect in front of the other party. If it was the previous Yu Huang, it would be fine. Although the imperial sect had a large influence in the 3 islands and 7 lands, Yu Huang was suffering from a heart disease. He wanted to unify the 3 islands and 7 lands, but he was powerless. He was almost killed by the Silver Sword people. But it was different now. The Silver Sword people couldn't kill Yu Huang and instead allowed the latter to obtain an opportunity. His heart disease was cured and he came back to destroy the Silver Sword. The entire 3 islands and 7 lands were now under Yu Huang's control. The other party's strength was also constantly increasing. In this kind of situation, the Qing family people actually boasted about how strong the shocking heaven sect was in front of the king of the southern mountain range. This was simply trying to kill them. Elder Pan hated that he couldn't just choke the Qing family people to death. They caused him to go against the sect master. He couldn't kill them. Elder Pan's face was filled with killing intent. He didn't dare plead for mercy to Yu Huang. The latter was still dressed as a woman. If the latter's identity was exposed, there was no need for him to beg for mercy. He could just wait for death with the entire shocking heaven sect. Therefore he could only place his hopes on Luo Qingtong. It could be seen that Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi attached great importance to this Yijio. And just now, Yu Xingqi opened his mouth to support Luo Qingtong. With this thought in mind, he lowered his posture in front of Luo Qingtong. Looking at this scene, the whole place fell silent. The onlookers didn't expect things to turn out this way. Who exactly was this Yijio? To actually cause this Elder Pan of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands heaven-shocking sect to lower his head respectfully? While everyone was secretly guessing and shocked, Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Elder Pan. Since you didn't make a move this time, I'll let this go. You've dealt with these Qing family people. The Qing family's influence in the western wilderness, not a single one will be left. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. That Elder Pan hurriedly complied. His gaze glanced at Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang. Seeing that they didn't have any objections, he immediately rejoiced that he made the right bet. This Yijio was indeed able to influence their decision. Chapter 1200. The faces of the Qing family members were extremely ugly. They did not know what was going on. Wasn't Elder Pan the backer that the Qing clan had invited? The other side had clearly agreed to the Qing family's conditions and wanted to make a move against Xianxia. Not only did he not make a move, he even wanted to destroy their Qing family. Everyone's faces turned pale. A core disciple of the Qing family quickly said, "Elder Pan, don't forget you accepted that buy." Before he could finish his words, Elder Pan had already waved his hand fiercely, chopping off his head. "Humph! Kill everyone from the Qing family, don't leave a single one alive." Elder Pan's face was cold. The deal between him and the Qing family was indeed because of someone pulling the strings. That person was the Bai family's young master from Savage City in the western desolate region, Bai Jintang. But that was in the past. Moreover, he did not know that Xianxia had a relationship with Yu Huang at that time. With Yu Huang here, not to mention the Bai family's young master, even if the entire Bai family was here, he would not be able to go against Xianxia. The Qing family actually wanted to use Bai Jintang to pressure him. Instantly, the killing intent in Elder Pan's heart became even stronger. He directly waved his hand. Immediately, in the private room on the 2nd floor, the trusted subordinates of the shocking heaven sect that followed him jumped down and began to massacre the Qing family members. The original backer had turned into a death god. The Qing family members could not react in time and all of them died under the hands of the shocking heaven sect. They cried out and begged for mercy, but Su Yu and the others did not even care about them. How the Qing family treated them before was still vivid in their minds. Not to mention the miserable state of the Su family's generals in front of them. The Qing family members all deserved to die. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong coming this time, Su Yu and the others would be controlled by others. Adding in the presence of Elder Pan and the shocking heaven sect, who knew how many losses Xianxia would have suffered. Perhaps the entire Xianxia would have died here. In this kind of situation, how could Su Yu and the others spare the Qing family members? Since the other side wanted to deal with them before, then they would have to properly taste this bitter fruit. Let's go. Luo Qingtong's face was calm. She brought Su Yu and the others out of the dark arena. Yu Si Huang and Yu Xingqi followed by her side. As they walked out of the hall, just then an elder in a dark arena uniform chased up from behind and called Luo Qingtong, "Mr. Yi Jiuyi, please wait a moment. Your humble servant is the manager of the Dark Colors Arena." He Jiuyi Jiuyi Yi Yi Jiu Jiuyi Yi 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 Yi. Foreign dignitary. Luo Qingtong raised her brows and looked at him. Yes. The deacon of the Dark Colosseum smiled and said, "Our Dark Colosseum likes to invite experts from all walks of life to become our guest elders. If you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, young Master Yi will not be restricted in any way. On the contrary, if you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, you can enjoy VIP treatment in our Dark Color Arena." Chapter 1201. In addition, if Gongzi encounters any trouble or difficulties outside, by virtue of your status as a guest, you can ask our Dark Color Arena for help. But there is only one free chance a year. At other times, if Gongzi wants to use our Dark Color Arena's strength, you have to use contribution points to exchange. The deacon of the Dark Colored Arena smiled and said, "Young master, when our Dark Colored Arena needs you, you can take part in a literary battle for us. Every time you win, you'll get a chance to fight for our Dark Colored Arena. You can use it to ask our Dark Colored Arena to do anything we can." So many benefits. Luo Qingtong looked at the Dark Color Arena's deacon. To be honest, she was also very interested in this Dark Color Arena. Not to mention other things, the literary battle method was really very original. It was similar to the Roman Colosseum's primitive and bloody battle, but it could also satisfy the participants' heart's brutality, and it would not cause any harm to the opponent. Just based on this point, who knows how many people would be attracted to come and gamble. More importantly, the other party's special tool for the literary battle was really not ordinary. Luo Qingtong guessed that there must be a saint-level tool refiner or above behind the other party. Luo Qingtong was very interested in that tool. If this thing was used well and improved, it would definitely be a great tool for training soldiers. However, the person who refined the tool had added a trace of divine sense, and it was connected to the other party's mind. Luo Qingtong was unable to analyze the tool's composition and refining method. Otherwise, the other party would capture her aura. Moreover, with her current strength, it was not enough to refine this special tool. As a result, Luo Qingtong wanted to join the other party and see if she could get some of these special tools. But thinking of the guest's request, which was to help them in the literary battle when they needed it, Luo Qingtong immediately gave up on this idea. She had too many things to do and might not have the time. Forget it. Thinking like this, she wanted to refuse. At this time, Yu Si Huang's voice sounded in her ear. "You can agree. Behind the Dark Color Arena, there are people from the hidden world. You will enter the hidden world sooner or later. If you agree to his request, it will be good for you and your subordinates. As for his request for the literary battle, it is not mandatory. Just agree to it. When he asks you to go to the literary battle, you will go if you have time. If you don't have time, don't go. As far as I know, the Dark Colors only do this once a year. They gather all the guest elders of the Wen Duel and ask them to help with the Wen Duel. And from the last time, it has just been a few days." Yu Si Huang's voices suddenly Luo Qingtong, of course, Luo Qingtong, Luo Qingtong's Luo Qingtong. As the Lord of the Southern Region's 3 islands and 7 lands, he would definitely know more about these matters than he did. Of Sis's words. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. If the dark color was really related to the hidden world, then there was absolutely no harm in becoming a guest. Luo Qingtong did not forget that she had to go to the hidden world to find news about her father and mother. Not to mention that her mother was from the outside world, she might not necessarily go to the hidden world. But her father, as a person from the true Spill continent, would definitely go to the hidden world to find her. Chapter 1202. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately said to the deacon of the dark-colored arena, "Okay." As she spoke, she raised her hand and took the guest elder token from the deacon. The latter also had a face full of confidence and didn't think that Luo Qingtong would refuse their request. When he explained to Luo Qingtong, the guest official token was already prepared. When Luo Qingtong agreed, he directly handed it over. Luo Qingtong looked at the two words Yijio engraved on it and smiled slightly. You dark-colored arena people are really confident. Even the token was made on the spot. They weren't afraid that she wouldn't agree. We dark-colored arena people believe in our strength. Of course we also believe in your choice. It won't be wrong. The deacon of the dark-colored arena said with a smile. Guest official Yi, take care. He said, slightly bowed to Luo Qingtong and then retreated. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong's heart was somewhat pensive. It seemed that the dark-colored arena people attached great importance to the Wen duel. They invited so many guest chamberlains to the hidden world to compete. It was likely that there were some benefits involved in this. But this had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong for the time being. According to what Yu Huang said, the last guest official Wen duel just ended not long ago. Even if the dark-colored people wanted to invite people to the Wen duel, it would take at least half a year. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately put away the dark-colored guest official token in her hand. Tong tong. Yu Huang swayed his hair and walked in front of Luo Qingtong. Just as he was about to say something, the young man smiled and used the sword hilt to press against the weak spot on his waist. Don't call me that disgusting. What tong tong? Luo Qingtong only felt goosebumps rising. Xianxia didn't call her that. This Yu Huang could also do it. Luo Qingtong looked at his body swaying gracefully and amorous appearance and her lips twitched. She suddenly had a very strong feeling, and that was, agreeing with Yu Huang to travel with her, was definitely a very big mistake. Especially for her. Hey. Isn't this showing off my daughter's delicate appearance? Otherwise why would I dress up like this? Yu Huang threw the handkerchief in his hand at her with a coquettish face. He had a sad face before, thinking that his sister's idea of him dressing up as a woman was too deceitful. It destroyed his image as the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands. But now looking at Luo Qingtong's reaction, he suddenly felt that this idea wasn't bad. At least compared to when he and Luo Qingtong first met, the other person's face was not so cold and her face was Face's face. Yu Huang prepared to continue to try and get closer to her. It was rare that Xianxia, that demon god, wasn't here, so he naturally wanted to seize this opportunity. Thinking like this, he suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with a bitter face and said, Tong Tong, you're too much. You're simply throwing me away after using me. You heartless man. I even helped you just now. Naturally, Yu Huang was talking about Elder Pan. Originally, he was still considering whether to kill the other person to silence him. Who let the other person see his current appearance and know his identity. But that Elder Pan was smart, directly sticking to Luo Qingtong. The latter said to spare his life, so Yu Huang didn't care. After the other person felt his murderous aura, he didn't dare to go back and talk about it. Chapter 1203. Yu Huang's current appearance was really pitiful. He looked exactly like a pitiful woman who was abandoned. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched fiercely. She wanted to ask him if he was addicted to acting. When she was free, she would find a brothel for him to act as a top courtesan. Only then would his evil and enchanting face not be wasted. Luo Qingtong thought like this. She glanced at him angrily. Then she said to Su Yu and the others, let's go. Let's just let him act alone. She was not going to accompany him. As for the favor, she cured his heart disease before and saved his life. How many favors did she owe him? He was not done yet. And he wanted her to repay him? Luo Qingtong simply turned around. Su Yu and the others looked at Yu Huang with sympathy. Then they immediately followed her footsteps. Hey, such a beautiful girl, how could she fall in love with their master? Their master was a woman. He was definitely going to be a heartless man. The group of people did not know the identity of Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi. They immediately sighed in their hearts. But after knowing Yu Huang's identity, they suddenly felt like they were struck by lightning. It was simply overturning their worldview. When Yu Huang saw Luo Qingtong and the others leave, he couldn't care less about pretending anymore. Hey, Tong Tong. You wait. He hurriedly chased after them. Yu Xingqi carried the little white cat and followed behind him. He could not help but roll his eyes. He did not want to admit that this person was his brother. What should he do? The group of people walked out of the dark arena. Luo Qingtong was preparing to ask Su Yu about the recent situation in the western wilderness. Then she heard a burst of noise coming from the front. She looked up and suddenly saw a group of people walking over with great fanfare. The leader was a man wearing a white robe with bamboo embroidered on it. That outfit was elegant and graceful. But the other party's eyes were somewhat deep and cold. He didn't seem to be such a noble person. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and saw that the group of people were stunned when they saw them. Then the leader of the group, a young man in white, hurriedly walked towards them. "See, are you all right? I've received news from my subordinates that the Chung clan has asked Elder Pan of the Astonishing Heaven sect to act against the people of the heavenly diabolism. Thank you for your concern, young Master Bai. The matter has been resolved." Seeing this person, Su Yu frowned and immediately took a step back to avoid the other party's outstretched hand. The latter's hand was still in midair. Suddenly, anger and sternness flashed in his eyes. At the same time, there was also a deep sense of doubt. What's going on? Bai Jintong's eyes shone with a cold light. He was the one who brought Elder Pan and the Qing clan together. At this moment, Su Yu and Xianxia's people should be trapped in the dark-colored arena, with no one to respond to them, their faces filled with despair. When most of the people of the heavenly diabolism were killed, he would make a move. With the identity of the Bai clan, he would save Su Yu. How could he not be grateful to him? At that time, what could he do to him? Didn't he have no choice but to obey him? How did they come out of the dark arena? Who was the one who ruined his plans? Bai Jintang was furious. Chapter 1204. The matter here was almost over, so he had to return to his family as soon as possible. However, he was extremely unwilling to let go of such a beauty for no reason. However, Bai Jintang's thoughts were very deep. Even though he was angry, he didn't show it on his face. Even when Su Yu avoided his hand, he didn't show any anger on his face. "I forgot that, Su Yu, you don't like it when I get too close. But Su Yu, I really do care about you. You can choose not to accept my feelings, but the Qing family has tried to deal with you again and again. This time they even invited a big shot like Elder Pan. Your heavenly diabolism alone won't be able to deal with them." Bai Jintang smiled at Su Yu. "I'll say it again. As long as you agree to become my person, I can openly use the Bai family's power to protect them. At that time, I'll naturally ensure the safety of the heavenly diabolism people. As for the Qing family and Elder Pan, I'll personally talk to them. Su Yu, think about it carefully. Your heavenly diabolism might be able to escape this time, but next time, you might not have such an opportunity. Don't you think so?" As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong, who was standing next to Su Yu, raised her hand and seduced Su Yu, who was as cold as jade, in front of her. She raised her head and kissed Su Yu on the cheek. Then she raised her eyes and looked at Bai Jintang. "I'm sorry, young Master Bai, but Su Yu is already mine. You're too late." Luo Qingtong listened for a long time and finally understood. It was obvious that this young Master Bai was gay and had taken a liking to Su Yu. Was he going to force her? Luo Qingtong didn't think it was a coincidence that he came at this time. She had seen the look in the other party's eyes just now. This time the Qing family and Elder Pan came to cause trouble. Even if he wasn't the instigator, he definitely had something to do with it. She still wanted to use this to threaten Su Yu? Unfortunately, he didn't know that she'd dealt with all the members of the Qing clan. The one who did it was Elder Pan. Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Jintang indifferently, the smile on her lips indescribably frivolous and evil. Bai Jintong's expression finally changed. He looked at them and then looked at Su Yu, who was obediently being hugged by Luo Qingtong. He was furious. Never would he have thought that his meticulously planned scheme would be taken advantage of by someone else. What made Bai Jintang even more excited was the fact that Su Yu was lying in Luo Qingtong's arms without the slightest bit of struggle or unwillingness. That be *key. Previously, when facing him, he even pretended to be unable to accept it. But now it was lying obediently in the man's arms like a dog. Bai Jintong's face was ferocious. However, he quickly adjusted himself. There were so many people here. He couldn't ruin his own image for the other party. Bai Jintang retracted his ferocious expression and then looked up at Luo Qingtong and the others with a sad smile. "Is that so? Then congratulations to Su Yu and everyone from Xianxia." As he spoke, he took a step to the side with his fan and opened up a path. "Please. Then I thank young Master Bai for his congratulations. Luo Qingtong didn't hesitate to stab him in the heart. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.